Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chils, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Okay, Root of Power fam, I have got Amy Tsai with us, who I suspect is going to be very fun. So she is coming to us from Toronto, Canada. So our top hat, if you will. If you're in the US, if you're not in the US, I guess that top hat analogy doesn't make sense. She is a health and fitness coach for women, and we are going to dig into, I think, quite interesting things. So hello. Welcome.
Hi there.
How are you this morning?
Hey, Amanda.
Yes. No, thank you for being here. Like, I was just telling my last one how much I love podcasting, because I get to talk to people who, like, I would probably never meet in real life. And
yeah,
it's just awesome.
I get it.
Like,
it's fun. It's fun, right?
It's so fun.
It's so fun. I never thought I'd have as much fun as I do now doing podcasts or being on somebody else's podcast.
Yeah. Like when I was young, I very much wanted to be like Ricky Lake. Like I wanted to be a talk show host. And then I'm like, oh, okay, we kind of doing that thing. How did you get into fitness coaching?
Well, believe it or not, I walked into a gym when I was 16 and I was like in love.
Yeah. I love when it hits that early. Like some people just get it early and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this forever. Like, awesome.
Yeah. And, so I walked into gym and fell in love. I was like, oh my God, wait, look at all these people and look at all these hot boys, right? I was like, like, come on, right? And then from there, so I've been in the gym since I was 16, but I probably didn't start, teaching classes and training clients till I was probably in my mid-20s. And then so I was in fitness for a very long time, up until recently. So fitness was part of my work, and I transitioned more into a coach role probably about 4 years ago. So, fitness has become a smaller part of what I do, and what I do more so now is like coaching for weight loss without dieting, regaining energy, loving your body forever. And, for women over 40, it's like reducing body pain has become a really big thing now. So that's what I do all the time now. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think that's okay. You just blew my mind, because that's a really big gap. Like, I think a lot of people, so I run into this in like the emotional space, right? Because I therapist and like mental wellness coach. A lot of people don't realize how bad they feel until they feel better, because, like humans are stupid good at adapting.
Yes.
Which is a great thing, and which is also kind of a problematic thing, because we'll just adapt to pain. Our body's like, oh, okay, well, this is whatever. Like, this is our reality now, so we'll adapt to it. And then we start to feel better, and people are like, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad I felt. And you must run into that all the time.
All the time, all day long. And for women over 40 and for women over 50, body pain is a huge category. And all of a sudden weight loss is dropped off because, it kind of gets, thrown by the wayside because they're in so much pain. Yeah. And they're just not having any fun in their bodies anymore. And the thing about our bodies here, Amanda, is that it's meant to thrive and be energetic all the way through our entire life. We're not meant to feel bad in our bodies, whatever that means, right? Like, feeling yucky, whatever, whether it's weight gain or body pain or low energy, our bodies are meant for that. It wants to be happy. Yeah.
Yes. And that is something that really makes me sad about, like, the language around aging.
Yes.
And especially women.
Yes.
God. So, but so much of the language around aging is like a slow decline. It just
Yes,
seems like the language around it is so hopeless. Oh,
I
you better
agree.
give it up. You have to stop doing what who are you to try and hike or, and then you have these stories of people doing these like really incredible like I was just watching a YouTube video about a 99-year-old marathoner. And I'm like, "Okay, listen, this bitch ain't running a marathon." Like never happening. But like for someone for a 99-year-old to do and we're like, "Oh, that's so amazing. That's so rare. That's so rare." But like
Yeah,
my dad is 80 years old and can outwork anyone I've ever met in my life, me
yeah,
included. Like,
yeah,
and I'm 32. So like when you do the right things, and this sounds like the role that you take, when you do the right things, when you heal your body, when you and it's very simple stuff, right? People don't know. We're gonna get into it, but like
yeah.
when you do the right things, your body's like so, so, so incredible. And it
Yes,
doesn't have to be the slow decline.
yes. I mean, think about the language that you're absolutely right about the language. Think about,
Yeah.
amongst our friends and amongst our social circle, the
Mm,
types of words and things that we say to one another,
yeah.
and it becomes part of our language. We don't even know why we talk that way, other than the fact that that's how everybody else talks. So that's how we talk.
Right, and that's what we grew up in, right? And I noticed it when I started getting into, like, intuitive eating, food freedom. So I'm 32, so, like, the
Mhm.
physical aging language hasn't really hit yet,
Yes.
but I do have friends who, like, have chronic pain, and they're like, "Oh, this is just the way it is," and I'm like, "But why? Why does
Yeah.
it have to be the way it is? Like, why can't you just fix it?" I don't understand. But, like, I realized when I started not working in an office environment anymore how obsessed women are with food
Yeah.
and dieting, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god," which, long term and you can talk about this because you do hormonal work,
Yeah.
long term wrecks your body,
Yes.
wrecks
That's
your
right.
body. Then you have how much pain because you're under eating, you're underfed, you're malnourished, you eat garbage, like, the amount of people who are like, "Oh, I have a friend and I'm gonna call her out. She's doing um like Optivia, whatever, like the meal bar
Oh,
replacement things, and they market it as like fuelings. And I'm like, I fucking hate this company.
yeah.
But she's like, oh yeah, I eat 5 bars a day in one meal. And I'm like,
That's not.
that's not
Yeah.
food.
That's not food.
Like, what are you? No wonder you feel like garbage. And when you come off of it, you gain weight back. Like you're eating protein powder,
Yeah.
which like has its place. But if that's what you're eating for 5 meals out of the day, like
That's
5
right.
fuelings, which is whatever, garbage marketing term, but I'm like, you don't feel good because you're not eating real food, because you're
Yeah.
not moving your body, like
And
and you must do that all the time.
how happy is she? She can't be that
Ugh,
happy if you're eating 5 bars. I mean, that gets hard pretty easily, right? You know what I
no,
mean?
and then
It's like,
and then there's all this guilt. Yeah, all this guilt when she eats real food, and it's like, oh my god, the emotional roller coaster, and then you add in sorry, I'm going on a tangent, and then I will be
okay.
quiet. Like, and then you add in, like, that when you start getting older, your body changes and all this like language around aging gracefully and like blah blah blah. And then you have like J-Lo who's like a fucking, I don't know, superhuman. So you're like, that's what I'm supposed to look like at 50. Oh my God, what is happening? I would like to look like that at 32, to be fair. Like J-Lo, please get out of my life. Like she works way harder than I'm ever willing to do, so that's fine. But I don't remember what the point that I was making, but like, yes. So all of
Oh,
those things compound and then women's bodies are wrecked. And how long does it take you when people start working with you to just heal before you can even do any like body composition changing work?
yeah. That's a really good question. It's minimum 6 years. It's more like a year because you get it.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I mean, think about how long women have been doing this for. Like,
Since they
let's
were 8.
take for your friend for an example. How long has she
Yeah,
been doing this for? How long has she's been feeling this way about her body for? We're
a
talking
long
years. And for
time. Mhm.
people in their 40s and 50s, we're talking decades.
Right,
It's not overnight. It's
right.
work in progress, right? It's
Yeah,
like anything else in life. You've got to work at it continually. It's not
yeah,
like it's not a start and stop. It's like
right.
you're always learning about ourselves and our
Mhm.
bodies, right? So it doesn't stop. So yeah, I tell women 6 months to a year is minimum commitment,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And it must be
yeah.
go ahead.
And 6 months just to realize what it is that you've been doing and where it came from.
Yeah.
Because you got to figure out, where did this come from?
Right.
Because in order to figure out how to get rid of it, you got to know where it comes from.
Right. And it takes a lot of experimenting. So like every
That's
body has like the same general themes, right? But like every body is also so different. So it's like what works for one client or what worked for you may not work for them. So it's like, okay, well, we can try this. Let's run an experiment. And then if it works, great, we'll keep doing it. And if it doesn't, okay, like no big deal, we'll just find another thing. But that experimentation process can be very exhausting, especially depending on like how much pain you're coming in with, how long you've been dealing with it, like how impatient you are if you're me.
That is right. You are absolutely right. And patience is another one. It's like, women are impatient and that's because of the diet culture. It's like, okay, lose
Yeah.
10 pounds in 3 days. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Right? And that's where that impatience comes from. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's trial and error. And most women give up before anything even happens. They throw their hands up and go, why do I even bother? It's like, well, it happened. You haven't done anything. This is just the beginning.
And I think it's so sad because then we like blame ourselves, right? We think something is wrong with us.
Right.
Not understanding that like the messaging and the like, I'm going to put this in quotes, like the education, the information is a lot of the information is garbage and it's unsafe. And people don't realize because they don't have any education in this area. And there's so many people that and companies that make so much money grifting.
Right.
So you have to undo also like decades of misinformation.
Right. That's right. And for a lot of women, we're talking, they've had mothers who are chronic dieters. So it's learned behavior. You know what I mean? So it's either from the mother or from childhood, teenage, early 20 behavior that they've learned that they've got to undo. And if you're in your 30s, you're talking like 1 or 2 decades. For women in the 40s, 50s, we're talking like 2, 3. I mean, I remember talking to this woman and she had like really bad body image issues and she ballooned in her weight. And I asked her how long she's been suffering in her body for it. I asked her how old she was. And she was turning 60. She was turning 60.
Wow.
And I said, she was telling me her body image started when she was a teenager. We're talking 5 decades. 5
of
decades.
Hating. Oh,
of hating.
That makes me so sad for her. Like, and what that does to your body, right? So like how many women come in with crazy inflammation, they start healing that, and they not unintentionally, but like a side effect of that is that they lose the weight because your body, like when you have chronic inflammation, hello, you're carrying extra weight. Like your body is not doing well. So it's going to hoard resources.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, oh my God, I lost the weight. And it's like, yeah, we have to heal the root problem. And hating your body is stress.
Yes, that's right. Hating your body is when you hate your body, you don't want to pay any attention. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to weigh it. You don't want to wear clothes. You don't want to do you don't want anything to do with your body. So what happens is you're completely disconnected. And when you're disconnected, there are no answers there. You're seeking answers outside of you. Hey, what are you doing to lose weight? Hey, what are you doing for inflammation? Hey, what are you doing? Versus asking yourself, like, what's working and what isn't. So that's what happens when we hate our bodies. And that's what I tell women, like body image and weight are 2 separate issues. We all know women lost weight and still hate their bodies. We all know women that haven't lost weight and still hate their bodies. But do you know what I mean? So they are 2 issues, and you have to love your body exactly the way it is, whatever that may be, size, shape, age, and whatever the other one is. Whatever it is, you have to begin to love your body first, because when you love your body, you want to take care of it. So if you've got kids, you love your kids to death. Well, you will do anything for your children because you love them to death. Well, if you love your body the way it is, then you're going to take care of it. You're going to do all the things that it needs to feel good, right? And that's the biggest thing. And that's why, women have, and people are like, oh, well, I'll be happy when I lose weight. It's like, no, no, you have to be happy now. Being
Right.
happy is a decision that you make. It's not,
Right.
it's not dependent on your shape or size or weight or whatever it is, right? And
Right.
that's the biggest mistake women make when it comes to their bodies and weight loss.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of women, I think that they feel like, and this is something I've heard, is they feel like love is too far away. They're like, "Well, it's too big of a jump," right? They're like, "Well, I could
Yeah,
never love my body," because they've hated it. Listen, 30 years of hating your body, and you're like, "I'm supposed to love it overnight?" And I'm like,
yeah,
"What if you just were neutral towards it?" Like, when I start in this,
yeah,
I have people, I'm like, "What if you just said, 'My body is good because it carries my organs around?'" Like, that's
yeah.
nice.
Yes, being kinder, being
Oh
kinder.
my
You're
gosh,
you're
yeah.
absolutely right. Loving your body overnight is not gonna happen. Being kinder. Start appreciating your body. It's like, you know what? Like, I'm 53. I mean, like I'm lucky to be alive and I'm lucky to have the body that I have because it's
Yeah,
allowed me to do all the things that I enjoy. It allows me to walk, it allows me to drive, it allows me to go on vacation, it allows me to
right.
have good sex, it
Yep.
allows me to have do you know what I mean? It allows
Yeah.
there are
Yeah,
skirts that are cute. It allows me to wear pants. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like so,
like,
starting to
yeah,
appreciate your body is really a good starting point to
such a
loving.
good point.
Yeah.
Because you can't hate and appreciate something at the same time, and that is I have found that that's much more accessible than saying, like, "I love my body," because your brain's like, "No, you don't." Like,
Yes.
"No, we don't. That's not
Yeah.
true." But if you're like, "I have a body, and it is a body," it's like, "Okay, well, that's a good place to start." So when people start with you, how do you work with them? Do you start with like a hormonal panel? Do you start with like mindset work? Do you start wherever they want to start? Like, what's kind of the process?
I usually typically start with their biggest pain point.
Mm.
So
Oh, that
what
makes sense.
bothers them the most? Is it their weight? Is it the body pain? Is it their eating? Like what bugs them to death? Like they just can't take it anymore. So that's
Yeah.
typically and for a lot of women it's weight. For
Yeah.
the majority of women it's weight. Number two, because I deal with women mostly over 40, would be body pain or regaining
Hmm.
energy. Yeah. And then loving your body is kind of will always be there because you kind of work,
Yeah.
you kind of work with that in terms of weight, body pain and energy is that becomes a
Yeah.
constant is loving your body
Well,
piece.
and I don't know if you see this, but I find that that's kind of a byproduct. Like, I
That's
don't
right.
even focus on self-love or body love because I'm like, no, 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 like we don't need to focus on that because that's going to come. When you take care of something, your brain automatically goes, "Oh, well, I must love this thing because I'm taking care of it." So it
Yes.
becomes kind of a byproduct anyway.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So for a lot of women, it's weight loss because they've been struggling for
Mhm.
years. Especially, if you're over 40, all of a sudden you've got
Yeah.
hormonal to deal with that makes it harder to lose weight. Because
Yeah.
what ends up happening is whatever you were doing before in your 20s and 30s used to work. Let it, call it dieting or whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, 40, it's like, wow, that doesn't work
Starving.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they feel kind of trapped in some ways. Like, why? How come it doesn't work? And what used to work doesn't work anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So,
So
so that's
what are some of the most common pains that you see?
pain? Like, you mean like a body
Like
pain? I
physical
mean,
pain. Yeah.
yeah, like like the beginnings of arthritis,
Wow.
joint pain, hands and wrists, knees. Knees is a big one.
Mhm.
Definitely
In
wrist
their
and
forties.
knees.
That's
Yeah,
so
and
young for that.
yeah, and the thing is it's all inflammatory, right? Like aging is
Mhm.
inflammatory, let alone what you put in your mouth. Right?
Right.
And like everything contributes to it, so if you're not getting the sleep and rest that you need, it's going to affect your joints.
Right.
What you put in your mouth is going to affect your joints. Your level of stress is going to
Right.
affect your joints, right? And we become such a society of stress mongers, we don't even know we're stressed anymore. We
Right.
actually don't even know. It's become part of our day-to-day life, and
Yeah.
also it's become a little bit of a badge of honor, like,
Yes.
I've done so much today. I've just piled stuff
Mhm.
on it. For women, that's what we do. We take
Yeah.
everything on. And
Yeah.
then you take everything on until you can't take it anymore, until you're like riddled with pain and
Yeah.
you're your weight and you're tired all the time. And that's when
Yeah.
women start to take care of themselves or make changes. It's when
Yeah.
they're feeling bad. And what we should be doing is doing it when we feel good because it's easier.
Right. Right. It's easier to do it at a 3 than a 10. And
Yeah.
when you talk about losing that connection to your body, that's one of the side effects, right? Is like you can't tell when you're at a 3. You can't hear your body at a whisper because you're disconnected. You can only hear it when it's screaming. And I tell people all the time, like, you don't have to listen to your body. It'll shut you down. Like,
That's
your
right.
body's smarter than you. It's not going to let yourself die. It will shut you down.
That's right. It will shut you down.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing is when you start tuning in, like for, like we all know diets don't work, right? We all
Yeah.
know that.
People
However,
don't know that.
people don't. Well, you're right. People don't know.
So
They're
here you
still
go, people.
trying. They're still trying, and it's
Right.
not working. And here's the thing: is when you become more aware of your body, you can actually heal your body. Forget, like, never mind weight loss. Weight loss is like a no
Again, side
brainer.
effects. Yeah.
You can actually heal your
Mhm.
body. Like meaning if you have chronic pain, if you've got gut related
Mhm.
issues, you've got joint pain, if you got like meaning muscle aches or whatever,
Yeah.
you can actually heal your body. You can heal yourself from like chronic disease.
Yeah.
That's how powerful our bodies are. That's how and that's how disconnected we all are
Mhm.
because everybody's suffering from something these
Yeah.
days. Wouldn't you agree?
Most people, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, most
I
people
also
are.
find too that many people are very stubborn about their suffering because,
Yes,
if you along this line too, if you've tried quote unquote things that like were never designed to work, like it's not a mistake that like the supplement industry, the pharmaceutical industry, like it's not a mistake that those are multi-billion-dollar industries. Like they're not designed to work themselves out of a job. There's a reason.
there's a
So when
reason.
you try these things that were never designed to work, where you have all this misinformation, and just now the research is starting to come out about the gut and how important and how to heal it. Like, Eastern medicine is known for centuries and centuries and millennia. Western medicine is its own brand of problematic, but that's fine. Um, but when you try these things that were never designed to work, we take it personally and we say, oh, it must be me. It must be my body. It works for all these other people, quote
Yeah,
unquote, because you see, Instagram influencers that it works for, or like the one
yeah,
person who like has such an extreme body
yeah.
that they're like, oh, I take this supplement. And you're like, oh, well, I want to do that. And we take it personally. And it's not us. Like those systems are not designed to work, but they're designed to get you to buy the next thing.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right. The best thing, for this is what I tell people, and this is what I've noticed over the years as well, and it's gotten better, is vegetables is the key to health. It's key to weight loss.
Right.
It's key
Eat
to
real food.
energy and vitality, and it's also, also the fountain of youth. If you want to take 10 years off of your skin, because that seems to be,
Mhm.
it's not in a pill, it's not in a liquid form, it's not in lotions and potions creams and whatnot. It's actually in consuming more vegetables.
Yeah.
And that's what I
And
tell people.
water.
Yeah, and water,
Drink
you know?
some damn water.
And like I've been, I look at people's eating habits over the years, and
Mhm.
that's how I, help them. And when I look at their eating habits, I would probably say over the 25 years, I would say the amount of vegetables that people eat are probably around 10 to 20% of what they consume in a day.
Wow.
10 to 20%. It's gotten better over the years
Yeah.
since paleo. It's
Mhm.
gotten better because they've cut out grains and whatnot. Not that I'm a
Yeah.
proponent of paleo. I'm just saying because of these new diet trends,
Yeah.
people have gotten better with their eating habits. However, there's still, for people that don't do those types of diets, it's still probably like 10, 20, 30% at best
Yeah.
in terms of vegetable consumption. And
Which is wild because when you eat like so some of maybe we can talk about some of the anchors for you, like really pillars that you're like you put everybody on, right? And so like
That would be one of them.
yeah, eat
That,
food that comes from the ground or
yes.
at some point was alive. Like
Yes.
if people do that and nothing else and drink water, right? Most people don't drink enough water. But like if you do those three things, it's like you can get such good results literally just shifting those three things. Eat something that was alive at one point
Yes.
and drink water.
That you're absolutely right. And the crux of that would be, if you're eating a lot of processed food, and there's nothing wrong with processed foods. I believe in eating all the
No.
things you love, right?
Yeah.
Include fast food. I like my potato chips.
Yeah.
I like my French fries. The thing is if you're
God,
always
french
eating
fries.
high and
Shoot. Oh, cramp.
food, and then you go to eat vegetables that don't have a lot of flavor according to them
Right.
because of discrepancy between the two. It's really hard to transition. So I always try to tell people, eat the vegetables you love and enjoy, and if you don't love and
Yeah.
enjoy, vegetables that you like or can tolerate, you know.
Right.
Be- because I've come across people where they tell me they don't like to eat vegetables,
Yeah.
and they never outgrew their 6-year-old self. And I said, well,
Yeah.
you have to learn how to eat vegetables. And this couple, particularly, this was years ago, they didn't like to eat vegetables, so they discovered smoothies. And smoothies was
Nice.
something they can tolerate because they can put all the things that they love and mask it with
Right.
fruit. They
Awesome.
enjoy more fruit people than vegetable people. And I said, okay, yeah, do that, whatever you got to do to get some vegetables into your
Yeah.
body. And then slowly over the years, I still run into them in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They still do smoothies, and they dabble in vegetables. So they're eating more vegetables
Love
now.
it.
And I was like, yay, that's so
Yeah.
great. Don't you feel better? They're like, yes, Amy, we do feel better. I'm like, yeah, you feel better.
I love that. And I love that stance of like start where you are.
Yeah.
Start where you are. You don't have to completely change your diet. We just need to make shifts that are more aligned with what you want. But it's okay if that takes a few months. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to
It's
be
gotta be
overnight.
doable. It's
Mhm.
gotta be doable. If it's not
Yeah.
doable, you're never gonna do it.
Yes. 100%.
It's gotta be doable, and you're absolutely right, and because of the diet culture, people are expecting to shift from 0 to 100. It's like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
not sustainable. It's no
No.
fun, right? You're just
Yeah.
stressing yourself out, you're gonna throw your hands up in the air, and you're gonna give up, right? But
Yeah.
if you do one thing that's easy and doable, you do that until it becomes a habit where it's second nature, you don't think about it anymore, then
Right.
you move on to the next thing that you can conquer, and do that until you don't think about it anymore, it becomes part of your daily ritual, and then go on. And then that's how I work with people, is you do things one thing at a time and make sure it's doable.
100%.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that are like non-negotiable for you when you're working with people? Sounds like vegetables is one. What are some other ones?
Asking themselves questions. That's a big one, because people are so tuned out of their bodies. It's from not asking themselves questions. How are they feeling? What are they thinking? What's going on
Yeah.
in their life? That tunes them into their bodies, right? It's like, because a lot of times
Mhm.
emotional eating's a big one. It's like you feel stressed out, you go to the cupboards, right? And it becomes a
Yeah.
habit. All of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I got to lose 30 pounds. Like, where did this 30 pounds come from? That's from being tuned out, right?
Yeah.
So like stopping yourself, like I call it the 5-second rule. Stop for 5 seconds, go, am I hungry? Am I
Yeah.
actually even hungry? And oh, okay, I am. Okay, then grab yourself something to on.
Right.
If you're not, then like, well, what am I feeling? What's going
Yeah.
on? What's going on with work? What's going on with family? What's going on? What am I feeling that's driving me to the fridge or the cupboards?
Yeah.
And literally it takes 5 seconds, and doesn't mean that you shouldn't, if you aren't hungry and you still want that thing, it doesn't mean you should punish yourself for it. It just
Yeah.
means you made that initial stop
Yeah.
to reflect, and if you still reach for the food, that's okay, because that can take time too.
Yeah.
And then over
And
the
it's a
course,
more
yes, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, that takes time too. It could be like the sixth try before you go, okay, you know
Mhm.
what, I'm not going to eat this because I really am not hungry. I'm going
Yeah.
to reflect on how I'm feeling today. What's going on?
Yeah. And I think it makes it a more conscious choice, right? Sometimes you're like, yeah, I know how I'm feeling, but I want guacamole or I
Yeah.
want chips. Like, that's okay too, as long as you're consciously making a choice. And I love that you're talking about embodiment versus disembodiment,
Hmm.
because that is so much of the work is like, can you ask yourself what you need and give it to yourself? And I think a lot of people don't realize how tied in food is to self-soothing behaviors. Like, oh, you feel it's like in popular culture too, right? Oh, you had a breakup, down a tub of ice cream. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna make you feel better. Now you're gonna poop all day. Like, great. Now you're sad while you're pooping all day. That's not what we wanted. Or it's like, and then you don't that doesn't even tie in like alcohol as a self-soother, which
Yes.
I guess technically is a food. I don't know. Calories, whatever. Like, when you are disembodied, you will always seek outside soothing,
Yeah.
but then you're always reliant on those things when it should ideally come from the inside. Like, what do you need? Give that to yourself and not try and soothe externally, which then leads to, because we never seek like broccoli.
That's
We're
right.
not like, "Oh, I would love broccoli to soothe my sadness."
Yeah.
It's
No.
always like foods that are
Something.
not
Yes,
healthy.
that
So
is
then
right.
it contributes more to feeling bad, and then when you feel bad, you seek the comfort foods, and it's this like horrible vicious cycle that people don't even realize they're trapped in, which is
Yes.
sad.
Which is sad, which is sad. And a lot and you're absolutely right. And people wait till they're, not too late, but wait till they're suffering too long. It's like, do it now.
Yeah.
Do it when things are good. It's so much easier. It's so much easier. Can you imagine? It's like you're feeling I've had women come to me and tell me that they went to the doctors and they have now cervical cancer or some cancer
Oh,
down in the uterus. And I asked them, how long have you noticed like this feeling in your lower abdomen?
yeah.
They'll tell me like 9 months, a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. And next thing you know, they've got cancer of whatever. And
Yeah.
now this panic, stressful, fearful state.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be that way.
Right. And
And
it's
in
much
Canada,
easier
we
to
have
do it.
yeah, and in Canada, we have healthcare. We have free healthcare.
Right.
And free healthcare doesn't mean people go. Free healthcare, a lot of people do not go.
Yeah. Well, I think any healthcare people like I think a human's capacity for suffering high is so high. Like, we will just suffer. And it's
Yeah.
like, you don't have to. And people are like, no, that feels fake.
Yeah.
I'm just going to suffer for 30 years. And it's like,
Yeah.
why?
It
It's
is
so sad.
heartbreaking for me when I
Mhm.
hear these women talk to me, when I talk to them. It really is heartbreaking. It doesn't have to be this way. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you have to want it. You have
Mhm.
to want it badly. You have
Right.
to want to feel good. And you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And you have to have the time for it. So if you're running around, 18 hours of the day with like a chicken with their head cut off, probably not. You got three kids running around all over the
Right.
maybe not. So that's why women over 40 they have tend to have a little bit more time. They're
Mhm.
ready to do the work, and that's my niche in terms of
Yeah.
that I do is because a lot of women are ready because the kids are grown up, they have more time, their careers are settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's typically a good time frame for a lot of women to do this type of work.
Ooh. There's so many ways that we can go with this.
Yeah.
So, you take women through a certain process. I imagine there's like a rhythm and a flow. So we start with like diet, we start with, working on pain points. What's some of like the memorable transformations that you have seen?
Yeah, I think the biggest part for women is not even so much the weight loss, believe it or
Mhm.
not. Is that they feel good in their skin. They're happy. They're
Yeah.
happy and they know what works for them and what doesn't. They can make
Mhm.
the right decision. They are more happy about that than the weight loss, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They've
Because
been
it's such a release.
Yes, it's such a release.
Yeah.
It's almost like a puzzle that they've figured out. And that's really what our bodies are. We don't take the time to learn about ourselves and to
Yeah.
and to learn about ourselves and about our body and who we are.
Yeah.
And that's what weight loss and getting rid of body pain or weight or loving or whatever it may be. It's really about knowing who you are
Yeah.
and what makes you happy. Yeah, like like going women love to go for walks. It's like, yes, go for walks.
Love
Absolutely.
it. Live your dream, boo.
Your dream, it's a great activity.
Yeah.
But the women that don't walk are poo-pooing walking. It's like, no, 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 no. You look at you look at families who have dogs, and
Mhm.
they're out walking,
Yeah.
and they tend to be a little trimmer.
Mm.
Walking is a great activity. You
Yeah.
cannot poo-poo walking. I mean, if you don't like
Yeah,
walking,
do it.
if you don't like walking, that's fine. But a lot of women enjoy. I'm like,
Yeah.
absolutely go for your walks.
Yeah.
And it
And
can do.
I just love the stance of like any movement is good, right? I think a lot of people want to do these like hardcore workouts without one setting their body up appropriately. Like you have to work yourself into those. And they're like, "Oh, I'll just do 9 hours of aerobics every day." And it's like, or you could just go for a walk.
Yeah,
Like it's okay.
yeah, that
You can
no
just
pain, no gain diet
right. Oh
culture.
gosh, yeah.
Hello, right? Who
Yeah.
subscribes to no pain, no gain?
Mm.
I try to train my clients. I mean, I still have training clients, and I
Yeah.
try to train my clients where they are not sore after.
Which is that's relatively new.
Yeah,
Like the idea that well and there's a lot of science behind that. Like we have been taught that soreness is the marker of a good workout,
yeah.
but you don't really have to be sore to get the physical changes.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
No, you do not. And typically, unless you're like Olympic power lifter, maybe that's what you're looking for.
sure.
But for the general 80% population, no. If you
But
can't
even
walk,
then, like
that.
even really like I think what would surprise a lot of people is really elite athletes don't train at a
No, they do not.
100% like power output. Like a lot of them are training at like 50 to 70%.
Yeah, it's progression,
Yeah.
right? It's all based on
Mm.
progression, all measured. And for the general population, yeah, if you want to measure, yeah, knock yourself out. But you don't have to. It should just be
Yeah.
done for. It should you should enjoy your activity,
Agreed.
and
And the
that's
food you eat,
yeah,
and the
and
life you live, and the
yes,
partner you have, like
that's right.
and I find that when people so I don't really I work with body image if it's like causing problems and
Mhm.
I work with a lot of women so like that tends to go hand in hand.
Yeah,
But what I have found is like once we start healing the trauma that they go through, once we start working on boundaries and confidence and taking care of yourself, like their body never changes, but
yeah,
they feel better about their body. They start
yeah.
dressing in clothes that they really like. They'll typically like if they're into makeup, they'll do their makeup more often. They'll like I know we're really getting somewhere when I have a client change their hair and they're like, "Oh, like I got my hair done." And I'm like, "Okay, bitch, I see you." Like,
Yes,
"Yes." But it's
yeah,
it's a side effect. Like I almost never focus on the body unless they have disordered eating or a
yeah.
full-blown eating disorder, which I do have some of that. But by taking care of yourself, like that becomes a byproduct,
That's right. You're
which is so
absolutely because,
lovely.
and that's what I tell women is when you feel good, you look good,
Mhm.
right?
Even if your body doesn't change.
Even if your body doesn't change,
Yeah, it's
you
bananas.
look good because they
Mhm.
feel good. They stand differently. They have a
Yeah,
little bit more energy. They walk differently. They talk differently. They dress
yeah,
differently, and they look good. So that's why I
yeah.
say focus on feeling good, and you will look good as a
Oh,
byproduct.
I love that.
Oh, and that's what it is. So aim to feel good because we've all been tired, like those days where we don't get enough sleep and you
Yeah.
feel crummy, and someone says, "Ooh, you look tired." Right?
And you're like,
That's
"Rude."
feeling crummy, but you know what I mean? And so you look
Yeah,
crummy. So if you aim on
yeah,
feeling good, so I always tell people aim for feeling goals. Feeling
yeah.
goals is the way to go. You know, be happy, have fun. Have fun with your activities and do things that make you happy. That's
I
it.
love that permission because, again, so much of the messaging is like, "Suffer, suffer, suffer." If you do these things because they work, it's like I don't run, okay? I ran one race and that was enough for me.
Mhm.
I ran a half marathon one time like 10
Wow.
years ago and I wanted to die. I've never been suicidal, but if I could have jumped off that bridge, my legs were like too dead to jump off the bridge, but I was like, "Oh my god, if I just died, I wouldn't have to run anymore and this would be great." So, lucky me, I could not literally climb over the bridge, but I was like seriously thinking about it. But like, I don't run. But when I
Yeah.
look at like runners, I'm like, "Oh, like that is a body composition that I tend to admire." But I'm
Yes.
like, I hate running. So I have my coach program sprints because, I'll run for 20 seconds, but like running is not for me. But if I force myself to do it because that's what you have to do to be fit, whatever it is that we believe about things, like I would hate it and I would quit and I would beat myself up and it would not be good. So like giving women, especially women, permission to like, hey, you know what? You actually get to enjoy your life.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
I had
okay.
this. It's okay. And you're absolutely right. The fact that you don't enjoy, what's the likelihood of you doing it consistently? Not
None.
that likely.
None.
I had this woman I talked to. She's like, "Oh, I feel so bad all the time because her husband, who's super buff, goes down to the, down to the basement and,
Mhm.
waits and does all this stuff. And he runs and he's like sculpted. I know her
Yeah.
husband.
I
She
mean,
goes,
get it, girl.
so bad. And I was like, well, why? I said, do you have any interest in lifting weights and running? She goes, no, I can't stand it. I'm
Don't
like,
do
well,
it.
then what? I said, well, what do you enjoy? She goes, I love to dance. I said, well, there it is. I said,
Great.
you gotta let yourself off the hook here. I said,
Yeah.
you gotta do what he does. If you like, you're just beating yourself up, making yourself feel bad.
Yeah.
Go do a YouTube video. Go do a dance class that you love.
Right.
Just because I mean, dancing, that's a great workout.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
you're having fun. It's like
Yeah.
being a kid and being out in the, when, back in the day where you just run out the door and you just play, right?
Yeah.
It's just play and have fun. That's what fitness should be. Like physical fitness should be
Yeah.
body movement, playing and having fun.
Yeah. And I think people have discounted for so long, like the value of just more movement, right? Like it's not necessarily they have to like work out
That's
every
right.
day, like just move your body more.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be so complicated. And it's like, no, it
That,
really doesn't.
that's right. You're absolutely right. Like if back in the day when we used to go to the office, you can
Yeah.
you can get off to subway stops or streetcar stops or bus stops earlier and walk the rest of the way. Take the
Sure.
instead of
Yeah.
the elevators and the escalators and
Mhm.
incorporate them that way. If you don't have time to dedicate 30 minutes or 40 minutes for a
Yeah.
workout, incorporate that throughout your day. And that can do wonders. I mean, look at the Europeans. That's what they do.
Yeah. Something I would do that when I would tell people would surprise them, I would stand to work and I would put my water on the ground. So like every time I was thirsty and I drink a lot of water, I would have to squat. So I would end up doing like 100 squats throughout the day
Oh,
just because I was
wow.
thirsty. And I was like,
That's,
okay,
that's a great idea.
right?
Yeah.
Environmental hacks
Yes.
work.
Yes.
Like
It does.
they work. Now I work from home and I have a farm. So like, we're walking a lot or I'm putting the goats in who are out every day.
Right.
So lots of walking to put the goats in. They keep me very busy.
Oh, so
Um,
cute.
how do you work with people? Do you do like one-on-ones? Do you have courses? Do you do group coaching? Like what's it like?
Okay, so we do one-on-one coaching, private coaching, and we do group coaching. And my group coaching is small group coaching.
Awesome.
But they get lots of attention. So I don't take more than 8 on at a time. So this
Amazing.
gets a lot of attention. They can ask whatever they want, but it's still in a
Yeah.
group format. And that's just to save some money. And then for those
Sure.
people that want the one-on-one attention, I do the private coaching as well.
And
And then
are those both like
and I also
6-month containers?
yeah, 6 months to a year.
Nice.
The minimum commitment. Private coaching is 6 months.
Mhm.
The group coaching, you can do the monthly option or you can do the
Mhm.
yearly.
Right.
Those are the options there. And then I also created I called it the intuitive diet. It's a little bit of a word play.
Love.
And it's a program that I created to help women um, basically tune into the body. How do you tune into your body? What does that look like? what does that mean? How do
Yeah,
I wait without being on a diet? Right. So I
I
created,
love that.
yeah.
I love that. I love that embodiment is becoming so much more well known. Like,
Mhm.
if people do nothing else but listen to their body, it's like you can get so much progress by just paying attention to how you're feeling.
Exactly.
So
Stop
much.
asking other people.
Amen.
Stop asking what others are doing, like, oh,
Yeah.
keto, like that's the worst thing you could do is keto, paleo, the other one, intermittent fasting. There's a place for all of these things, and it's not for weight loss, as you probably already know. And then the other one was what's the other one? Like the juicing, the intermittent fasting. What was I think it was the yeah, it was the fasting. That's the big one now
Yeah.
in Canada. People are doing intermittent fasting. It's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I
that
can
came down here a couple years
wait,
ago.
only calories.
But I
But
think those, like I think people don't understand that, like, it's just it just puts you in a calorie deficit. Like, that's all. Like, they work because you're in a calorie deficit. What I do like that paleo and keto and fasting has done is, like, 1, it gets people to eat more whole foods.
yes, it
Like,
does. You're
that
absolutely
has been wonderful. But again, like, if you're not working with a practitioner who really understands what they're doing, I think paleo, like, you have more room to not be injured, like, to not be harmed, but, like, if you're not tuned into your body and you're just following these, like, diet rules, no matter what they are, like, you run the risk of damaging your body because you don't know enough. Like,
yeah,
because you're not tuned in enough, because you don't understand the science behind it, because you don't understand that, like, if you have a really stressful job and you're adding a diet that stresses your body out on top of that, like,
yes,
you're going to have problems.
yes,
And people just aren't knowledgeable enough to understand that. Like, the science behind those diets is solid, but it has to be done in the right way. It has to be done with somebody who knows what they're doing. And you can't be in an extreme calorie deficit if you're so stressed out and you're not sleeping.
yeah,
Like,
that's
you
right.
can't do it. I
Yeah,
mean, you can, but you're gonna pay a very high cost.
yes. And for women over 40 who are, having hormonal
Right.
fluctuations, that's probably not a great thing to be
Right.
doing.
Like,
You,
it can
you
be
need,
very, very costly.
yeah, it's gonna wreak havoc more on your hormones, right? And it's
One
gonna cause
hundo. So
and
how do people work with you if they're like, "Ooh, Amy, you are my girl. I like what you say. I like how you say it." How do people find you?
they can find me on Facebook under Fit and Fierce over 40, or they can just like call me. How about like picking up the phone and calling me?
They're just like, "What up? We talking?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, so typically I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well, but Facebook is probably my main platform. I
Nice.
do have a public group, so public group that's open to everybody, and then I also have a private free group for just women only, and they can join the group, and there's lots of resources in there. You're welcome to come to that, and
And we'll have those in the show notes.
yeah, and I also have some freebies available. How to take charge over food. Those are three
Yes.
tools that I typically share with all of my weight loss clients, and that's really about. And so these are the foundational tools that I recommend. And one
Yeah.
of them is like the mirror work, like learning, like looking at yourselves in the mirror, starting to like
Mm.
yourself, love yourself. Mirror work is a big tool that I use. Reframing your thinking, like all the negative self-talk to a positive self-talk.
Mhm.
That's in there as a tool. And then also the last one is path to guilt and shame-free eating, and that's a big one as well.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
All of those are just so freeing.
Yes.
You just stop hating yourself and beating yourself up. You feel so much lighter. You're just like, and people don't even realize, like, the burden, the emotional energy that sucks out of you.
Yeah.
We love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I can send you the link to that, and you
Please.
can share it with everybody. And
Oh, yeah.
that's all free. And if you have any questions, like feel free to reach out. I'm
What is
here.
will you tell us your website?
You know what? I have to tell you, I don't have a website.
Will you tell us your Facebook group name then?
I mean, you can go there, but there's nothing there.
Mm, that's interesting.
I know, I know. I do have an Amy Tsai coaching website, but yeah, no. You know what? Find me on Facebook. That's probably the best
Okay.
place to.
Got you.
You know, the websites are like always a work in progress. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true. So if people forget everything that we just talked about
Yeah.
and they only hear this one thing that you're going to say, what would that one thing be that you want them to remember?
Ask yourself questions. Be okay, that's more than one. Be curious about your own thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a good doorway.
Yeah.
You are a gem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Amanda.
this
What a
was fun. This flew,
Yes, it did.
like,
That was a
flew
lot of
by.
and
Oh my
we
god.
can and you and I can go on forever, right, Amanda?
Yes. One thing about me is I am a talker. Dude,
Me too.
thank you. You were so lovely. Thank you for pouring into us.
Thank you very much. It was a real